let's move on and look at some examples. So we're going to look at some of the more commonly used methods in the string class, some things that are going to be really important and useful throughout the semester. The first method we're going to look at is the char at method. That's the very first one that's listed in the method summary. And I've realized these are just listed in alphabetical order, so char at is not at the top because it's the most important or most commonly used method, but it is one that we're going to use a lot in the class. So let's answer some questions about the char at method using the method signature so that we can understand the purpose of this method and how we could call it. So first off, what's the method identifier? That's always the part that's here. It's always clickable and it's right under the word method. That's the method name or method identifier. So for this one, it's char at. And then we want to ask ourselves, does it have any parameters? Let's check it out again in the documentation. If it had parameters, they would be here inside the parentheses. We can see there is text in there. That means there is a parameter. It has a data type and an identifier. That means that there's one parameter. So I'm going to put the whole data type in here. Index, that's our parameter, and it has a data type of int. It's an integer. Does the method have a return value? Remember, the return value is over here on the left side. And in this particular case, it tells us it returns a char, that's a single character. And then we want to understand a little bit about what this method does. So let's read the description. It returns a char value at a specified index. That would tell us something about this method if we knew what an index was. Maybe you remember what an index is from a previous programming experience. Let's think about that for a second. The index of a character within a string is the position of that character in the string storage. So remember that each of the individual strings is a sequence of characters all right next to each other. And so the computer thinks of each of those as having a position or an address. And it always starts numbering them with number 0. So the capital K, that's at position 0 or index 0. The A is at position 1 or index 1. The N is at position 4 or index 4. So let's make a note of that. You can type this in your own words, by the way. You don't have to exactly type what I'm typing. In computer science, we number the first position, the one that is the leftmost character within the string, as position 0. And then the second position from the left is position 1, and the third position is 2, and so on. Let's try this out in our IntelliJ file. It's called the char at method. So remember that in order to use the char at method, we need to declare an object of type string. So let's make a new object. I'm going to make one called name and store my name in it. And then if I want to use the char at method, I need to know the details about the char at method signature. And remember, does the char at method have a return value? Yes, it returns one character. So we want to use version 2 of our method call, the one that includes a return value. We know that the char at method returns a single character, so I'm going to declare a character. I'm going to call it ch, short for character, and then I'm going to call my method. To call the method, I need to use the name of the object. That's the variable whose data type is string. I'm going to use name. That's the name of my object. And then you can see as I'm typing, it pops up all the different things that I might want to use. I want to use the char at method. I can just double click that and it'll put it in my code. Or I'm also free to just ignore the pop-ups and type it in myself manually. Now it's prompting me that this particular method uses a parameter and it's expecting an integer index. So I need to provide it an argument here inside the parentheses so that I'm able to successfully call that method. So let's say that I want to print out the character at position 2 in the string. Remember that the positions start numbering at 0. So if I want to get the second character, I'm going to have to use the position or index of 1. And then so that we can see the contents of that particular return value, let's print that out to the screen. I'm going to say system.out.println, and then I want to print out the second character is, and then I'm going to print the contents of my variable ch. Let's test it out. Okay, so it tells me the second character in Karen is the A, which is true. So the instruction that we used for that was string name equals Karen, or you can use your own name there. You don't have to use my name. And then we said something like char ch equals the name of my object, which is name, char at, and then 1. And then I printed it out afterwards by saying something like the second character is super. Let's continue on and look at some additional methods that are part of the string class. Another really useful method in the string class is one called length. And I've included the signature for it here. Let's take a look at it and see if we can figure out what this one does. So I copied and pasted it from the Java API. I'm just going to look at it on this page instead of flipping back and forth. But you can absolutely search for it in the Java API. In fact, maybe I'll show you that. So if I want to find information about the length method, I could search on this page. And there it is. So I just took a little screenshot of that and included it in your notes. You can absolutely find the same information in the Java API. So, or what's the method identifier for this length method? Well, it's just the name of the method, it's length. And then let's think about whether it has any parameters. Remember, the parameters are the parts inside the parentheses. And this set of parentheses doesn't have anything inside of them. So no, there's no parameters. Does this method have a return type? The return type's the information over on the left side. This one does, it's an integer. And then let's think about what this method does. It says it returns the length of the string. The length of the string is the number of characters inside it. So for example, if we had a string declared called greeting, remember that would be making kind of a bubble of information. And then inside that, you have a sequence of characters, 5 columns and 1 row. And then each of the boxes that are part of that string are going to contain 1 character. There's going to be an H, an E, an L, an L, and an O. So if we create that string called greeting, it's going to store that bundle of information. And then if we say, I want to call the length method using this data in the greeting object, it's going to look at the sequence of characters in there, count up the number of characters, and return that value. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the value afterwards is going to be 5. Let's test it out in IntelliJ just to verify that that's true. I'm making a new object called greeting and storing the word hello in there. Then I'm saying that I want to store the number of characters that are in that greeting string, called the length method. And again, if I want to, I can print that out to the screen just so that I can see that. So let's test it out and see if we print the value 5. Sure enough, it prints the word hello has 5 characters.